This is a C++ tutorial on class. In this tutorial, I'll show you how to define a class, implement the class, and how to create an object using that class. So I will be using Code Blocks IDE. First, I will create an object, a project, and I will give that project a name. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'll create two files. The first file will be header file, and the second file will be .cpp file, or the C++ file. So it's called this first file an adder file. I'm just going to make I will make a very simple class, which is going to take two data members, add those two data members, and provide the value to the user. So for that, I will call this class adder.h. This is the header file, the header file, yes. And the next one will be the .cpp file. So it will take the same name, but the extension will be cpp. So now we will define our class. Before we define our class, we have to give our class a header guard to avoid it from getting defined more than once when we use the class during compilation, I believe. So the header guard is done by using a C++ macro. So it's, if not defined, then we define it. So we have to give a name, any name. I'm just going to give it the file name. If not defined, we define it. Then we define our class in between. To define our class, we use the keyword class, and we give it a class name, add. And because a class is a statement, we create a curly brace and we close the statement. Then we give our class two data members. The first one will be an integer int a, and the next one will be an integer int b. Okay, and I will create a function that's going to return an int, and it's going to add these two numbers, add number, and provide the value to the user, or return a value or an int value. So once the class is created, we have actually to give the two data members. By the way, data member is another word. It's a variable. When you create a variable in a class, it is called a data member. And the method, which is the add number, is, and when you create a function inside a class, it is called a method. So by default, anything inside a class is private. That means you can create the object now, but you cannot be able to access either the data member or the function. So I need to be able to access the function in order to know, or to get the value of the value. Yeah. So I have to specify or give it an access control. So there are three types of access control in C++. The first one is private, like I mentioned at the beginning, which is the default. The next one is protected, and the third one is public. With the public access control, you can access anything inside the class once the object is created. So I will make this a public. I will give it a public access control right at the top before specifying the function and the method and the data member. but I want my data members to be private. So because I specify everything to be public right at the top, I now everything at the bottom of that public access control will be public. So in order to keep the data members private, I have to specify a private access control above the two data members. Now you can access the method once the object is created, which is outside of the class, but you cannot access the private data members outside of the class. In order to access the these two data members, I have to create another method called @setter method, which is going to set the value of the data members, or which is going to provide or initialize or change the value of the data members. So in order to do that, I'm just going to create a function which is void. It's not going to return anything. It will set the value of a to an integer value that is specified by the user of this class, let's say a1, and void set b and to b1. And now the class is defined. The next step is to actually implement the class. In order to implement the class, I have to go to the .cpp file, and I will include the header file, adder.h. Then I will start implementing the functions. So let's say if I want to implement the add number function, the first thing that I'm going to do is specify the return type, then the class name, and the scope resolution, and the name of the function. And now we can implement the class, which is going to return a plus b. The next one will be the void add set a int a1. It will set the a data member to a1. The next one will do same thing. I will set b to b1. And now the implementation is completed. The next step is to actually use this class. So I will create a new file, and I will call this new file main.cpp, and I will implement my main function. So anytime that you use a C++, you have to create a main function where everything is going to start execution from. And to do that, I have to actually include, because I'm going to use this class, I'm just going to include the header file first, include adder.h, and I'm just going to include my own header, which is the input output stream, which is going to help me to actually print the value of the return the return value of the function add number on the command line. So first I will implement the main function. Oh, man. And the next thing I'm going to do is I will return 0 once the execution is completed. It will exit the function without any error. I mean the program without any error. And now I will create an object from that class that I created in here, which is the add class. So to do that, I call the name of the class and give it a name, let's say X. Then we use the dot sign or the period sign to access the data member or function. I mean the methods, I mean the public methods. So I'm just going to set the value of a to 2, and x dot set the value of b to 5, and print out the value after adding these two numbers to the command line. So that's going to be x dot add number, and compile this and run it. The result will be 7. So what we did here is we created an object on the stack, and we set the value of those two data members into 2 and 5. Then we call the function which is going to add the two numbers and return a value, and that's what we did. So the next step is, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to create the class or the object on the stack, on the heap. So in order to do that, first we create a class pointer x, and this pointer will be created on the stack, and it will point to the heap address or the heap memory on the computer, so on the RAM. So just to explain it here, I'll create using the new keyword. I will create or set up or set a memory for this specific class add. Then this variable, a pointer variable that I created on the stack, will point on the heap memory. I will take the memory address of this the memory address of this add object, which was created on the the heap. Then in order to access the data member of this object that was created on the heap, you have to use the arrow sign. So x, this is the arrow sign, and we set the value to, set the value of a to 8, and x set the value of b to 6, and we have to change this into an arrow sign too. Then we compile everything and run it. It will be the same. It will give us a result. But if I use a point here, it's not gonna work. It will give me an error. The reason is that because when we create an object on the heap, it is referring to the object address. The x variable is referring to the object address, so we have to actually dereference it like this. Then we can set a to a specific value, and this will work fine. And the reason why we are using the arrow sign is much simpler and easier than dereferencing the whole object and calling the methods or the functions. So this is how we create a class in C++.